And so this is actual data from all of the USA. This is 2016 pregnancy data. And it shows the clear difference in having treatment with preimplantation genetic testing and without. The graph on the left-hand side shows live birth rate per egg collection. And the group in pink, all the bars in pink are for the group without PGT-A, and all the bars in blue are for the group with PGT-A. Now, as you can see, the blue bars for each age group are higher than the pink bars, which means that for each age group, having PGT-A will increase your chances of having a live birth for every egg collection that's performed. But what's more interesting, actually, is the second graph. So one problem we have is that when older women have IVF and they have preimplantation genetic testing, they don't make a lot of embryos. And when we test those embryos, as you saw from the previous graph, there's a very good chance that very few, if any, of the embryos will actually contain the right number of chromosomes. And now there's no sense in transferring embryos that don't have the right number of chromosomes. So unfortunately, if the patient is an older woman and she goes through IVF with PGT-A, there might be no embryos that are actually available for transfer. But it does provide us with the information as to why the treatment is not successful. We know that it's because of the embryos. We're not left wondering what's going on. So that's what the second graph shows. So the second graph shows the live birth rate for patients with and without PGT-A, but now it's shown per embryo transfer. So if we only look at patients who actually have embryo transfer, so what that means typically in the cases without PGT-A is they go through a round of IVF and they'll transfer one embryo back or two. What that means in the cases of PGT-A, though, is that they will go through an IVF cycle, and the numbers shown only represents the patients who actually had embryos that were suitable for transfer, so patients who had euploid embryos. And if you look at the graph in the blue columns in that second graph, the rates are astonishing. You're seeing an almost 50% rate. There is a bit of a decrease from the under 35 group up to the over 42 group. You're still seeing a well over 40% live birth rate per embryo transfer in women over 42, which is astonishing, because if you compare that to the live birth rate per embryo transfer for women over 42 who don't have PGT-A, that's sitting around 5%. So that's almost a 10-fold difference in the treatments, in the success rate for treatment, which is, to me, it's astonishing that we don't do it in all cases. But there are practical considerations on this. And then the last slide shows how it impacts the miscarriage rate. So, as Dr. Venkat alluded to earlier, one of the most common causes of miscarriage is that the embryo carries the wrong number of chromosomes, so it's aneuploidy. And so if you look at the pink columns, you can see across the ages, the rates going up. So the miscarriage rate increases from about just over 10% all the way up to well over 50% in women over 42 when you do IVF without PGT-A. But now if we look at the PGT-A group, yes, there is a slight increase, but the increase goes only from about 10 to about 17 or so %. Now, so if you compare that last group, that's quite astonishing again, because if you don't have PGT-A, or if you don't perform PGT-A in the IVF cycle and you simply transfer the embryos blind, as it were, there's almost a 1 in 2 chance that that will result in a miscarriage. Whereas if you do PGT-A, it drops that by about 2.5-fold. And that's a big difference, because miscarriage is quite a traumatic event to go through. So it's food for thought.